Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast, where you'll find insight, analysis, and the story behind the numbers.
Hi, dear listeners. This is Raja Simhan. Welcome to the State of Economy podcast. Increasing number of drones are crisscrossing the country, carrying emergency medical supplies or an e-commerce package. Use of drones in delivery and in the logistics sector is likely to see a huge surge in the years to come. In this episode, we are going to discuss the use of drones in the logistics sector. To discuss these issues, we are joined by Ankit Kumar, founder and CEO of the Gurgaon-based Skye Air Mobility. In this episode, he discusses with us the use of drones in the logistics sector and its critical role in the last mile delivery. Let's listen to what Ankit has to say. Hi, Ankit. Thanks for joining this podcast. Many of these startups has been making a lot of strides in the drone delivery industry. We'd like to know as to how critical is this drone technology in the entire logistics sector.
Thank you, Raja. Thank you for having me on the show. Skye Air is on the forefront of the drone delivery industry. When you look at the whole evolution of drone industry, it's been there for last 10 years. But the whole significance and improvement in terms of technology being adopted at a grassroots level began only in 2018 with government coming out with the new policy and elaborating on that policy, ensuring that the drone technology is able to reach to nooks and corners of the country and being utilized in multiple other sectors, aside of the logistics vertical as well. So drones are today being utilized in inspection, in surveillance, in security, at the borders, at different other commercial establishments, infrastructure inspection, etc. It is being utilized by our farmers, which are utilizing for spraying of chemicals, inspections, yield, and the yield is improving, and the output of that yield is improving a lot. And at the same set, industry like drone delivery, aerial taxis are something which are coming up in a bigger way, because these are recurring things. And we set out in 2019 to disrupt logistics. So as a company today, which we began 5 years back, we went into development of the technology from the scratch. And today, what we have developed, I'm very proudly saying this on your show, that there's no country in the world which can match the kind of thing that we have developed, demonstrated, and are utilizing on a daily basis. And that's where India is leading the whole edge. And India has the edge to lead the whole drone industry and become a global drone hub by 2030. So a lot of progress is happening on drones, and drones are getting involved and getting and becoming a part of our daily lives for different usability. There are a lot of people in Gurgaon, in Himachal, in places where we are operating drones, are currently utilizing the services, and it's creating a sort of a change in the way people are now receiving their packages. So I'd put it in a very concise and a summarized manner, saying that drones are becoming a mainstream solutions, and it's impacting at different levels in different industries.
Great. But can you just elaborate? Logistics, the last mile is very critical. So where do you see drones, even though it may be early signs of the better utilization of drone in the last mile connectivity and delivery, whereas in US, it's kind of a slightly advanced. So give some sense as to where do we are at this point, I mean, in terms of the last mile delivery.
Look at countries around the world. Wherever drone delivery has been adopted so far, these are not very densely populated cities, right? These are suburbs or offbeat areas where you have a population size of 2,000 or 20,000 or even 200,000 households which are there. And unlike India, many of these countries have got houses where you have a lawn, where you have dedicated spaces, etc., where the drones can go and deliver the packages, which you don't find in India. So when we went and when we set out to invent something for the Indian market, we looked into that we have to develop a product which can go into the densely populated areas like Gurgaon and can deliver to apartments, where we are having those apartments in bulk in India compared to any other country. And if we have to do that and establish that, we have to look into how we can solve the whole last mile piece. So what we do today is the drone delivers to your residential apartment. There is a pod which we call as Skye pod. The Skye pod basically receives and has a capability of receiving 400 packages in a day. So the Skye pod receives the packages, and everything that I'm talking about happens in autonomy, in a full autonomy or a full autonomous manner. The package is received by the Skye pod, and then we have put up we call that process the last mile, LLM. We put in a concept of Skywalker, a guy who is basically taking out the package and going to your doorstep and delivering those packages. And that sets the whole process and ensures that there is handshake and sync between everything which is happening in the whole loop, ensuring that the logistics is happening in minutes, not in hours. Now, this is something which is not there in any other part of the world. So even if Western worlds have taken or countries countries like US or countries in Europe, people have taken up and they initiated drone delivery in the first place. However, we see that is going to be a bigger challenge with respect to going and doing things in a densely populated areas. The solution that we build is for the densely populated areas, and we are doing the same kind of stuff in the rural areas also, where we have dedicated spots which are being utilized to deliver the shipments and packages in different manner.
You refer to the densely populated areas. So, I'd like to know as to how safe and reliable using drones in such a terrain where you have so many people there. Assuming something goes wrong, is there any way which we can avoid doing it? Have you tried doing that in maybe kind of a test as to in the, how where it reacts to dense populations and all?
Yeah, of course, and as I said, a lot of things depends on the technology, right? And depends on ensuring that we have a full-fledged technology which is able to navigate through those challenges. I won't be saying that there were no challenges and things were super easy. Things were very difficult, and there were a lot of challenges. If we have to go and build something in a city like Gurgaon, we need to ensure that safety is paramount, and especially in aviation, safety is paramount, and we have to take care of each and everything and ensure that the reliability and the safety is maximized to create any sort of a product which can go and do deliveries, and which can do the last mile logistics in a better manner. So we set out and we created multiple levels of things. We built our own navigation platform where the drone doesn't use a camera, so it protects the privacy of the people. It protects and it doesn't capture any images or videos while it's flying from A to B. So there's no camera on drones. So we protected the privacy part of it, and we ensured that we built up multiple sensors which can enable it to navigate. We call the system as Sky Tunnel, which is a 10-meter wide air corridor that we built. We created the air corridor in such a manner that there is no obstacles in the path. There is no blind spot, so the connectivity with the drone is always maintained at that particular level as well. And everything and anything that happens in the Sky Tunnel, even if there is a dynamic movement of any obstacle which is happening, it is informed, and it is well in advance informed to the drone to take up necessary actions. The drone has got multiple redundant systems which are particularly there. If a battery fails, there are batteries which the secondary battery can take off, can immediately bring the drone down to a certain location. There is dual motor which is also in the drones, which can also allow the drones to not crash but to land safely if something goes wrong. There are multiple systems and fail safes which we have created in the drone to ensure that the things do not go wrong, even if whenever we fly in any area. It's irrespective of a densely populated area or sparsely populated area. Wherever we fly, we ensure all this. All our drones have got parachutes on board. So in case of any eventuality where you have motor failures, which are mechanical and electronic failures, etc., the drones can always land and the parachute gets triggered, which brings the drone safely down without creating any impact on ground or without creating any damage on ground. We tested these systems over and over again. Between 2019 to 2023, we tested these systems multiple times. We have done a lot of trials, a lot of testings, and over and over again, after doing all this testings and trials and building up reliability and building up more updates into the whole system, we realized that this is the time now to take it off and start doing things in a densely populated area with the customers and see how the customers are reacting and how the customers are taking this entire thing up. And that's where we began with 3 or 4 residential apartments in Gurgaon. And now we are looking at scaling that up slowly and gradually to other parts of Gurgaon as well, where a customer can receive their e-commerce, quick commerce, food, and other items as they wish to receive. But the system is foolproof. It has got multiple things. We have built multiple things in-house, whether it's a navigation system, whether it's the communication system. We wanted to build a product which is less likely to get hacked. We don't want anybody to hack our drones and land somewhere else. So we built our own connectivity system as well. The communication protocol is super encrypted. There are tons of things that has been done in that particular area. We built our own navigation piece, which I spoke about. We built our own winching system where the drone doesn't need to anymore land in a particular area. It winches the package down into the pod and it comes back. We built the whole pod mechanism, which is in sync with the drone. So there is no requirement of a manpower, which is required to be opening up the pod or closing of the pod, etc. And we built multiple level of authorizations. The whole Skywalker concept was introduced. We launched the mobile apps as well, ensuring that the Skywalker is able to better navigate through the last mile. And now the situation is that what we are also doing is we are ensuring that how can we reduce the time that is taking in the last mile by better navigations and better things that we are building up in place as well. So yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, that's how we are building up the systems which are reliable and safe to operate and go ahead with.
I think that sounds interesting. But can you give an example as to, assuming if it took, say, 20 minutes to deliver by road in a scooter, what could have been the same time if it is delivered by a drone?
So I'll give you a real figure, which we have done in Gurgaon. So if it takes 20 minutes by scooter, by drone, including the last mile, which is happening on the legs, it took us around 3.5 minutes.
Wow. And typically in an apartments, where do you deliver? Is it on the terrace or the balconies?
No, not in the balconies for sure. I mean, it's possible to deliver in balconies from a technology perspective, but it requires a lot of internal navigation, which requires cameras and camera-based navigation to happen, which we are not in a favor of doing it. So we don't do balcony deliveries. What we do is we install our pod right in your residential complexes. It could be a parking lot. It could be in some places it's near to the electric vehicle charging stations. In some places it's near to a park. It's segregated location where less of hindrances and open area which is free from any form of obstacle. We install the pods over there and we keep a Skywalker for every pod who takes out the package and goes and delivers.
You recently tied up with the Chengalpat Leprosy Research Center for drone delivery of medical supplies. Can you just elaborate on that project?
So yeah, we collaborated with CLTRI, Chengalpattu, and it's a part of the 10 government contracts that we have recently won. And we have recently inaugurated and started doing flights for Chengalpattu as well. It's primarily for healthcare. We predominantly operate healthcare. Before these government contracts, we predominantly were doing healthcare deliveries in Himachal and Uttarakhand, and now we are expanding to other 10 locations as well. We are doing tons of things in around Chengalpattu. It's a 6 months of tie-up that we have done so far. In terms of connecting the hospital to the primary healthcare centers for delivering of medicines and diagnostic samples and everything which our healthcare system requires. How it's a very innovative project which the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare came out with, is to have every single overall capacity is to have every single regional institutes and the central institutes to have larger bases to cover. If you look at, for example, one healthcare institution, it generally operates and covers within a 20-kilometer radius. So anybody living in a 20-kilometer radius goes to that particular hospital. What if that can extend, and multiple other primary healthcare centers and community healthcare centers can be connected to the same regional institutes or central institutes, allowing them to be served by the larger hospital, and accessibility of the healthcare reaching to different pockets will increase. So that's a massive initiative which has been taken up by the ministry in terms of utilizing drones to deliver medicines and to take back the diagnostic samples and to provide those results in a minimal time frame, and to ensure that accessibility is maintained in different parts of the things. So Chengalpattu is one of those initiatives and one of those projects where we are working right now.
Uh, how do you see this drone delivery system itself in terms of the environment conservation? Because you don't see vehicles. Is that the only mode which can be saved? Is there something else?
So you look at from three different angles. Number one, there have been a lot of studies and everything which has been conducted, and we go by our own data. So we didn't buy in on the studies, etc., which have been conducted in different countries. Our own data suggests that compared to a conventional means, we save around 93% of carbon footprint. So CO2 emissions about 93% compared to conventional means can be saved by drone delivery. And these are actual data that we have with respect to how much of emission being done by us compared to the conventional means, etc., and what it takes, and how much of the run is required to be done in that particular area. Second thing is we minimize the human involvement, right? And as we minimize the human involvement, there is only one handshake which is happening in this case, which is at the last mile, and everything else is very automated and happening in a very much sync manner. So as we reduce the number of handshakes, the whole tangibility of the or whole efficacy of the entire system is very well maintained, and ensured that nothing else is moving out of the entire system. And that is ensuring to maintain a better, I would say, supply chain dynamics in terms of utilization versus how we are able to intact and take up the packages from A to B. And the third thing in overall capacity that comes is that drones are meant to can provide a better efficiency compared to the man plus vehicle. Because the challenge over there is, if you take an example of a city, in a day, a delivery guy delivers around 20 packages, right? And look at the free runs that the delivery guy is doing while coming back and then going again and doing such kind of deliveries. In case of drones, since the system is very efficient, as I told you right now, that we made that delivery of 20 minutes to 3.5 minutes. Potentially, you don't require in 3.5 minutes. We can also be doing that in 7 minutes or 8 minutes. That gives you ample of time to do batching. That gives companies ample of time to do batching. So instead of one person driving on one vehicle and delivering one package, you are able to send 2 packages or even 3 packages through drone in the similar time frame, and ensure that you are able to save on those runs. So drones are more efficient in context of delivering more number of packages during the same working hours as compared to the man with the scooter. So, keeping all these 3 things in place, it's the most sustainable mode of commute or sustainable mode of transportation which is there. And on top of that, what we added is the Skywalker, which is again walking and delivering, which is helping him out, by the way. It's saving his cost because he or she doesn't have got any other cost to bear. It's saving a lot of cost for them, and whatever they are earning at the end of the day on a package level is what is coming to them. They don't have any other expenses, and they're walking and delivering, which is the most sustainable means of transportation coming from the old days.
Drone industry is still evolving, so maybe another 5 years we should see a quite a vibrant industry. At that time, how do you see the maybe the traffic pattern itself on air when so many drones are going to be there almost across the country? What sort of issues may be there when such a massive penetration happens?
Yeah, I think, if we have to become a global drone hub by 2030, we should be witnessing anywhere around 1 million drones flying in the airspaces. And, unlike the road, the airspaces can become very congested. We're talking about a 400 feet airspaces, which is a low altitude airspace. It can get very congested, and it can lead to a lot of chaos. It can lead to a lot of, incidents and accidents, drones colliding with each other, and a lot of things which can happen. And that is where the need of a system to do the traffic management comes into effect, right? Which is something very equivalent to what air traffic controller does. But the air traffic controller today does everything on a communicative mode, right? The air traffic controller is communicating with the flight at a 30,000 feet level or 20,000 feet level or the approach level about when to give the slots for landing and takeoffs and other things. When we talk about autonomous drones, the reaction time is very, very limited. And there is a requirement of a system which can actually do the traffic management in real time and ensure that there is tactical and dynamic deconfliction, which is built in into the whole airspace, so that my drone knows that there is your drone which is also flying in the same airspace, and my drone can navigate and change its course if I see that there is another drone which is approaching my path. But that information today is very limited, and it's limited because also of the number of drones which are flying in the airspace, and there's no certain or one interface which is currently there in the country which can manage and which can pull in all those data points and give you the access to understand what is happening in the airspace. So what we did in a couple of years back is we started developing our own UTM, which we call as Skye UTM, which is unmanned traffic management system, which last year got inaugurated by Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, our Honorable Minister for Road Transport and Highways. And he inaugurated that for the entire nation, and it went on, and we started providing benefits to different individuals, pilots, and multiple other companies that were willing to fly drone and provide that information and data to the government, to the regulators about where they are flying drones and how they are flying drones. And that information was being pushed by the system to other systems as well who were utilizing the entire UTM platform. So today in my airspace, I know if there are drones which are flying in, and I can navigate and I can plan my flight plan, and I can plan my flight time according to, in such a manner that it is more strategic. In case there are still deconfliction which are required in the airspace where two drones are approaching towards each other, the system acts and provides notification to one of those drones to take up a higher altitude or to move through different other means to ensure that there is no incident in the airspace. However, the system or the UTM is currently not compulsory. It is user dependent. If a user wants to utilize it, they will utilize it. The government is looking at building up. They came out with national UTM policy framework in 2021, and they are looking at building out a national UTM policy which can be rolled out. Maybe I'm expecting in 9 to 10 months, something of that sort coming out, and ensuring that the sky become more and more regulated, and a lot of information about who is flying, where is flying, etc., can be shared so that incidents in the future can be avoided. And that's a scenario which you are talking about may occur in 5 years down the line.
The final question will be, a lot of budding entrepreneurs may come. Any advice for them? And also, we may require lots of drone pilots. So, how are you going to solve this problem in terms of training people? We have already seen many companies do make. Even Prime Minister did inaugurate the Didi drone pilot program and all. So, where do you see the issue of manpower in this industry?
I think with time, a lot of people are getting interested to become a drone pilot, and that excitement and that interest is there in a lot of youngsters who are fresh out of college, who are fresh out of their 12th standard, who wants to do something and who wants to fly a drone and wants to become a drone pilot. And aviation as a sector has always interested people. And they see that this is one of the things to be associated with the aviation industry, being a drone pilot and trying to drive things. I know personally at least 15 or 20 of very senior level people in different industries who have nothing to do with drones, becoming drone pilots, and as a hobby pursuing to become drone pilots, and maybe in the future can become a sort of a freelancer or commercial drone pilots, and try to pilot drone for different other application as the need arise. But yeah, I think the trend is changing, and the trend is moving upwards with respect to people looking forward to take up the license and at least be in a scenario where things can evolve. From a demand perspective, there is a lot of demand for drone pilots today in the country, especially for pilots which are trained and which are having experience. You find very handful of experienced pilots which are there in the country. The sector that we work in is a very specialized sector, right? There's nobody typically who's been doing drone delivery, and particularly BVLOS, which is beyond visual line of sight. And when I talk about this, what is required is the pilot to have the level of sensitivity and the maturity to drive things through, and to understand things in a larger manner. So we conduct a 15 days of extra training session over and above what DGCA provides. That's something that we do internally. And post this, we take them to the on-job training, which is a 30 days training. So we provide them a 30 days of on-job training where they are associated with a senior pilot, and they're monitoring, they're understanding the situation, they're seeing everything, they are going through all the ERP, which is an emergency response plan, etc. And they're there to help the senior pilot in terms of understanding and taking up things. And only when we see and we get a clearance from the senior pilot that this pilot who was on job training is now good enough to go to the market and start driving things and start taking up things on his own, that's a time frame when we allow them to go and start taking up command and start piloting the drone and driving the drone in that particular manner. Anyways, the pilot's job is not to not to handle the joystick and do things from the joysticks. Everything is so automated into our systems. We use our own cloud GCS, the ground control stations, which can allow to operate 20 plus drones at the same time. And everything is super automated in that particular sense, which is required for the pilot to get trained on. So that's how we are trying to resolve this. We are taking up more engineers, aeronautical engineers, aerospace engineers. We are cultivating them. We are trying to train them on to becoming drone pilots, and we are trying to create a sort of a pipeline which we will require to scale the operations as we go forward. So that's what we are doing in terms of getting pilots on board. With respect to the budding entrepreneurs, the sector has got a lot of potential. There's a lot of opportunities. There are tons of things and tons of innovation which are required to be done. We have always been a country which has believed in importing a lot of things when it comes to new age technology. I think the trend is changing now. Whether it's space, whether it's drone, whether it's any other deep tech sector, the trend is changing, and people are looking at developing things in India. And there's a big buyer and there's a big buying set to favor the indigenized components industry, indigenized verticals which are there in a larger manner. So there's immense potential in the sector. It requires a lot of perseverance. It requires a lot of hard efforts. The journey is not going to be easy. It's very difficult. It's going to be it's going to be full of highs and lows, pains and happiness and everything which is required. But that's a life of an entrepreneur, and that's what we enjoy, and that's what drives us to be ahead of the curve. And the purpose in life is not just to develop a company which can do well. The purpose in life is what you are developing and what we are developing here can go and change the lives of people who live with us in the same planet and make this a better place to live.
On that note, may thank Ankit. Really pleasure being you on this episode.